It seems to me that nobody in the international community is taking that call that you've just made seriously to get NATO involved.
Well, getting NATO involved has a full spectrum of interest there, going from boots on the ground, which, as I say, that moment has come and gone 6 months ago. It would now be, I think, inflammatory to do that. You could certainly introduce a no-fly zone from up to the Dnieper River in the west. From a humanitarian perspective, you could put that in. That would be bold, and yes, it would include risk. The bigger question you have to ask yourself is, if you don't stand up to a dictator, if you don't stand up to a tyrant, particularly as we're seeing, one that has the support of another authoritarian regime in the form of China, where does this then go? And that is the bigger questions we need to recognize. This isn't just about Ukraine. We parked off what was happening in Eastern Europe as, particularly perhaps bruised after Afghanistan and Iraq. Let's not go there. We don't want to get involved with that. We're now recognizing food prices will go up in the UK now. Oil and gas prices will go up in the UK. Not only that, the retaliatory sanctions will have an impact on businesses here in the UK as well. We have to stand firm and remind ourselves what we believe in, what we stand for, what we are willing to defend. We've had 3 decades of pretty much, a peaceful era, but that is not the norm. Prior to the Cold War, it was the usual to have conflict, to have a threat posed there, for us to have to be on our guard, to have to work and defend democracy. And I think we're entering a new era where we need to reinvigorate ourselves. We need to spend more money. We certainly need to increase defense spending to 3% now.
Well, I thought I was in a parallel universe yesterday when I heard the Liberal Democrat leader, Ed Davey, calling for exactly that, for a reverse of defence cuts. These are defence cuts the Lib Dems presided over during the coalition years, I'm sure you'll remember. On the issue of the no-fly zone, Defence Secretary Ben Wallace addressed that head-on this morning in interviews. He basically said that is not on the cards. That would involve us putting fighter jets up against the Russians, and that would be most likely to inflame things yet further. But many people will be wondering, if we don't do that, is there a real prospect that President Putin will take this further and actually dare step into any of the Baltic states as NATO members? Do you think that's realistic?
I do. I think we need to be careful of where Putin is going. He has a plan. We are dismissing him as maybe somehow unhinged or crazy. All sorts of words are being used, but he's actually followed his plan to the book. We've seen troops amassing, we've seen false flags, disinformation campaigns, the idea to provoke. He's got the Duma, his parliament, to dutifully nod through the legislation that he needs. And then we saw him advance into the Luhansk and Donetsk areas, and then a full invasion. And I'm sure he has further intentions, not necessarily in NATO countries, but certainly perhaps in the Balkans, maybe in the Arctic as well, or perhaps even in the Middle East too, where he has interests. And indeed, he's sending troops, filling vacuums in North Africa, in Mali as well. So we need to be aware of where the world is moving, and it's moving very, very quickly. And we have become, I'm afraid, rather timid, rather risk averse. And as you imply, when do you stop? When do you start standing up to a bully? Because if you do stop and hesitate, they simply ask and demand for more. We saw that in the last century, and I'm pleased that we're starting to regroup. We're starting to appreciate this is not just about Ukraine. This is a wider impact on European and global security. But we need to move much, much faster rather than reacting to events, but be able to get ahead of them.